In the fourth episode of the Phantom build, I'm going to show you a heap load of painting and only a small fraction of the masking that I did. So let's get started. This video comes to you in cooperation with DN Models, DACO Products, Elegoo and PCBWay. To paint the shiny surface of the variety of hydraulic actuator pistons, I first gloss coated over the black primer. Then I applied a few layers of AK Extreme Metal polished aluminum. I left that to cure for a couple of days and then I masked the shiny parts off. Really tedious job, but it should pay off. For this task I used strips cut out of masking tape and masking fluid from Uptailung. The gear legs got a few layers of insignia white. This color is slightly off pure white, which will help. That help is needed to establish some highlights. To do that, I dry brushed the landing gear parts with snow white oil paint. I guess it is hard to see the difference, but it is there. The effect is really subtle, which is kinda what I am looking for. First, I did the wash on the gear legs with Starship Filth. The look kept bugging me because it looks a bit too soily, which I don't see fit on a carrier-based aircraft. Next I tried the dark grey panel line accent color from Tamiya, and I liked the sooty appearance much better. However, it was way too dark and too stark. So I sacrificed a bottle of dark grey wash by pouring some grey wash into it. That resulted in something that I will refer to as neutral grey wash. Still have the brake dust grime feel, but it is less intense and I like it. The detail painting was mostly focused on the hydraulic lines. I started with black acrylic paint, and to keep it from drying on the brush I mixed some drying retarder in the paint. To draw some attention towards the eyelets, I used silver pencil. This way they look like metal clamps with rubber bushings. Of course, even the smallest details can benefit from some highlighting. So I went over the black with grey paint. And that was about it for the details painting on the landing gear. With the same grey paint and a fine brush I did the paint chipping. While silver does not work with light colors, the grey does well. With that, the landing gear looks like it has seen a few work days on the deck. Tamiya provides some placards decals, which are very welcome. I applied those and put the landing gear aside so I could tackle the gear bay doors and the speed brakes. Before we go any further, let me tell you about the sponsor of today's video. PCBWay offers professional on-demand 3D printing service. They can print your projects in plastic, resin or even metal. They also offer sheet metal and carbon fiber fabrication, CNC machining in a huge array of materials, injection molding and many electronic component solutions. Check them out, link I will leave in the description. To make my life easier, I started by marbling and then painting the outside of the bay doors in insignia white. With the external painting out of the way and the paint cured, I stuck the parts on a tongue depressor using low-tack double-sided tape. This way the painted areas would be naturally out of the way of overspray, so there was no need for further masking. On the internals I did some pre-highlighting with the insignia white base color. To increase the highlights and add more effects I used the snow white oil paint. To be fair, this was all an experiment. I was not really sure how it will turn out and I adapted the technique as the painting progressed. Using MRP's insignia red, I painted the crush points and the speed brakes. The crush points were fairly simple painting, just to get the opacity right. On the speed brakes I wanted to have some transparency so that the previous effect layer could remain visible. Red, however, has the tendency to turn pink when it is over white paint and it is undersaturated. Obviously that was not something I wanted, so I got some buff oil paint and redid the highlight dry brushing. Then it occurred to me that I can do some shadows using black panel liner. After this layer of effect was applied, I started blending with more insignia red. I felt like I was chasing my tail, but in the same time I was sure that there is a potential in this technique. Maybe just the red was not the most suitable color. In any event, I will continue to experiment with it whenever I see the possibility. After some masking over the red crush points and another layer of black surface primer, I covered the internal surfaces of the gear bay doors with insignia white. Just like with the landing gear, next I applied highlights using the snow white oil paint and the dry brushing technique. That was followed by a pin wash with neutral grey panel liner. The excess wash I removed using white spirit and a fine brush. Next I assembled a couple of details. The fit was excellent, which allowed me to paint the parts and then assemble them together. In this case, this made the painting of the crush points easier because there was less masking involved. The detail painting was only on the fuselage side main gear bay doors, where I added some cables if you remember. Not a big job, but just enough to make things a little bit more interesting. The DACO placards are a really nice addition to any part of the aircraft, and as small of a detail they are, they give so much more in terms of realism and overall feel. After the placards were placed in position, I applied a coat of Winsor & Newton satin varnish as a final appearance layer. After that, I cut and applied appropriately sized strips of self-adhesive aluminum foil on the gear leg shock absorber struts and removed the masking from the remaining actuator struts. It took a lot of time to finish the gear legs and the bay doors, but it is a big pile of finicky parts, and I think with that I took a good chunk of the assembly instructions out of the way. I almost forgot about those fellows, but after spending a good half an hour I found them. I removed the casting blocks and drilled a hole for each flat spot to accept a toothpick. A coat of black surface primer was followed by Tamiya's rubber black. To bring that sidewall detail up a notch, I dry brushed it with some snow white oil paint. I left that to cure for a couple of hours and then applied a few light layers of rubber black on top to blend it in. Hopefully enough to have the lettering visible but not stark. Later I added gold grey into the rubber black and hid the threads of the tires. In my opinion, a good set of aftermarket wheels is always a good addition. To get more on the wheels done, first I masked the tires off with the provided masks. After several coats of insignia white, I was happy with the color saturation and decided that the white is done. What I was not sure about were the brake sections of the inner side of the main wheels. Pretty much no reference images show the situation due to the gear bay door obscuring the area. All I could see was that the inner portion is very dark, brake dust or paint, I don't know. So I cut appropriately sized masks and applied them on the wheels. After a couple of coats of Mr. Surfacer 1500 black and some curing time, I dry brushed the details with neutral grey oil paint. Also, I did some chipping on the rim. For this I used mechanical pencil. Maybe it's a bit much, but there you go. After a small amount of dark grey wash and a coat of satin varnish for the rims and the tire walls, I am calling the wheels done. Unfortunately, Edward messed up the fit, making the holes way too wide, but that's going to be a problem for another day. The next task was to paint the tail art. To facilitate the painting, enter the DN Models mask set. First, I was going to paint the yellow outlines. For that to happen, I applied all the masks on the tail. Then I removed the masks that fit over the yellow areas. I did not discard those as I was going to use them again. Painting the yellow bands on the Sundowner's tail art, I was careful not to flood the area with paint so I could avoid a couple of issues. After the removal of the red portion of the masking, I reapplied the masks on the yellow bands to get ready for the insignia red stage. To complete the painting effort, I applied the paint on the red areas using insignia red from MRP. After that was done, I added a little bit of gold gray in the red and did some fading and general surface breaking. For some reason, it is really hard for the camera to capture the subtle effect, but it is there, trust me. Finally, I experienced the satisfaction of the mask removal. A few spots needed touching up, but I can deal with it. Let's face it, not even the best decals can come close to actual painting, and we all know Tamiya's decals are not that. The difference is especially evident when there are surface features to navigate around, like on the top of the tail. So, masking and painting for the win. Huge thanks to DN Models for providing these masks for the Phantom build. After a little bit of masking, I finished the primer application on the fuselage. With that done, it's time to start the metalwork on the tail. First, I applied a gloss varnish to provide smooth surface for the steel metallizer from AK. This was only the base color, and after it dries and gets protected, there will be some interesting variations to be created. To protect the steel, I applied a coat of Model Master Metallizer Sealer. Unfortunately, this product is no longer available. After that was dry, I put some duraluminum in the airbrush and applied it on several panels with varying opacity. My goal was to get some amount of panelization and also the look of titanium. On many of my reference images I can see the slight golden hue of that material. In fact, titanium and stainless steel were used in this part of the airplane to combat the heat from the engines. I decided that I need more color variation on the heat shielding before I go ahead with the stripes. So I did more paneling with Tamiya's gunmetal and the burnt iron from MRP. On the lower tail, I did a couple of panels with the gunmetal and the burnt iron I used for some fading. After this is cured, I could continue having fun with the stripes application. After about 10 minutes designing and 2 minutes machine cutting, I got the masks for the distinctive heat staining pattern right behind the engine nozzles. The masks I cut out of 18mm Tamiya tape, and they are essentially 0.8mm stripes with 0.3mm spacer stripes. Obviously, without the help of the cutting machine, I would have never been able to achieve such consistency, let alone in 12 minutes time. The application, on the other hand, was totally on me, and it was going to take a few bench sessions. Here I want to say thank you to all my supporters over at Patreon and on the YouTube membership program. You guys are amazing. And a lot of fun it was indeed. After I got all the fun I could handle and all the tape was finally done, I applied LP11 silver on the shielding right behind the engines. While that is screwing, I went ahead to attempt to replicate what you can see on the picture from the book. First I applied some burnt iron towards the edges and then transparent blue over almost the entire length of the stripes. As you can see, I was not able to achieve the desired effect, but I was going to try to do more about it later on. After the LP11 silver was done curing, I put the spacer stripes back on the shielding and removed the masking strips. Then I mixed some dark grey pigment with a bit of Tamiya smoke and Mr. Rapid Thinner. This sooty concoction I applied between the rivet rolls, fading away towards the rear of the airplane. I left what I have done so far to sink in, and I was going to decide whether or not this is what I was going after at a later stage. In the meantime, my next goal was to replicate the effect that you can see on the image. I don't have any good explanation of what this discoloration might have been caused by, but there are suggestions that this may be the residue from heat-resistant putty used to protect the rivets, but in my case it is here just to look cool. I started by masking around the area with tape, then I masked in between the rivet lines using masking liquid and a silicone brush. To replicate this residue or fading or whatever it is, I applied a layer of flat aluminum from Tamiya. After some curing time, I removed the masking, which revealed a picture I think I can call good. Then I spent almost 2 full bench sessions masking the precious metals. One thing is for sure, I'm not winning any gift wrapping competitions. After priming the nozzle with black primer and a coat of gloss varnish, I applied burnt iron from MRP as a base coat. Just a few light layers to get a decent coverage, nothing fancy. For the internal part I allowed a little bit of overspray, but it remained mostly black. After allowing the burnt iron to cure properly, I applied a layer of gloss varnish to protect it. The first stage of the weathering was to apply black panel line accent color from Tamiya. The application was quite liberal and I covered almost the entire surface. The gloss varnish I applied earlier allowed for the wash to flow better in the small crevices. This wash gets a flat finish when it cures properly. Using a paper towel and a small amount of white spirit, I wiped away the excess wash. To suggest heat staining, I used blue and red markers. Links for those and the rest of the materials I used you can find in the description of this video. To get a purple hue, I simply mixed the blue and red inks. Since the surface was still glossy, it was easy to blend the ink with a brush. I did not want this to be too obvious of an effect, so I applied it only on a few spots. The next step was to apply a few layers of flat varnish. This is absolutely necessary for the following steps. On the inside of the nozzle, I applied the sooty pigment mix. The choice of color might be up for debate, but the texture this paint provides is so close to caked up soot. Or at least that's how I see it. With the flat varnish properly cured, I got the Prismacolor Silver watercolor pencil and started coloring and polishing the raised details and some of the flat areas. Of course, closely following the reference images in the book. Speaking of the book, it was instrumental throughout my Phantom build, including the work on the nozzles. I can strongly recommend to everyone who is into deep research to check DACO publications. Link for them in the description. Again, with the silver pencil, I highlighted the edge behind the welds, and then went to recreate the shiny parts on the flat section. They are rather random, so that's what I tried to achieve. There are different weathering patterns that can be observed on different pictures, so this is up to the modeler. Going back inside the nozzle, I used light dust colored pigment to mimic the apparently lighter soot or whatever it is in between the control arms. Probably some dry brushing with graphite powder can have a good impact on the inside, but I like it as it is. Which is exactly how we will end today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching until the end, and until next time, happy modeling, fellas.